All right, the two things that we have learned are if you've got a central angle, okay, central angle, whatever the angle is, the arc is exactly the same. Inscribed angle, whatever the angle is, the arc is double. So there's going to be a few more of these types of things coming up. There's quite a few of them in this chapter that you're going to have to memorize. This section is some more angle relationships and circles. And this one is if you've got a tangent and a chord, it's going to form two angles right there. So this one is very similar to this one. Now, if I were to draw this, if I drew a tangent here and then drew a diameter, how many degrees is this angle right here?
90.
It's a 90, because a radius and a tangent will always form a 90. So the angle's 90, but how many degrees is this arc right here? 180. So when you've got a tangent and a chord, it forms an angle. If this angle right here is 70, how many degrees is the arc going to be?
140.
It's double. So it's the same thing as an inscribed angle. And again, if you forget that, you can always think of this. This is an easy one, because you know this is half a circle is 180, and you know that forms a 90. So here they have a picture of a tangent and a chord. The angle formed is 4x degrees, and the arc is 12x minus 100.
So 8x equals 12x.
Right, so in order to make them equal, you'd either have to double that, so 8x equals 12x minus 100, or you could cut this in half. 4x would equal half of that, which would be 6x minus 50. Either one of them will work. You'll get the same answer. Move this over so it's a minus 6x. So negative 2x equals negative 50. Divide by negative 2 and you get 25. You get the same answer if you solve this. Subtract 12x, you get negative 4x equals negative 100. Divide by negative 4, you get 25. So when you have these set up like this, not only in these, but in these also, you want to try and get them to equal each other or add up to equal like 180 or 360. So here, I know this is half of that. So I can either cut this in half, 4x plus 16. Since I cut it in half, now it's going to be equal to the angle. Or I could have doubled this, minus 20, and then since I doubled it, now it's going to be the same degree as that. Either way you want to do it, they'll both work. So here, if I solve, get this 4x out of there, subtract it, and you just get an x. So get the non-x's out of there. It's a minus 10, so add 10. X is 26. Now, some of these, it says find the measure of QRS, which means here's QRS. I have to plug 26 in for x. So 5 times 26 minus 10 is 120 degrees. I'll check before we give the assignment, but I think they always just ask for, I hope that recorded. I think they just ask for solve for x. Okay, now another couple like this. If two chords intersect in the interior, now it's not always going to be two diameters. We had some pictures like this where that's a diameter, which you know these angles are equal because they're vertical, so that means these chords are equal, right?
Yeah.
But if it's not a diameter, here's what you do. In order to find this angle, right there. You take the average of the arcs. So it would be AB plus CD divided by 2 to get angle 1. All right? So if they intersect inside, you add them. If you've got like a secant and a tangent or 2 secants, in order to find that, you don't add them, you subtract them. You would take arc BC and subtract AC and then divide by 2 in order to get the angle. Okay? So again, just a couple more things you're going to have to remember. If it's inside, you add them and divide by 2. If it's outside, you subtract them and divide by 2. And if you accidentally add this and divide by 2, it's going to be too big of an angle. It's going to give you a number that won't make sense. So if you just take a second to look at it. So this is the same thing. It's outside, so you take this arc, XY, minus this arc, WZ, and divide by 2, and that'll give you the arc outside, angle 3. So, here, this is the angle. So you got to take the arc here, plus the arc there, and divide by 2. And you get 143. Now, if you accidentally subtracted them, if you took 150 minus 136 and divided by 2, you'd get 7. So you can see that that's not going to be 7 degrees, right? So then the ones that are outside, it doesn't matter if it's a tangent and a secant or 2 tangents or 2 secants. It's the same each time. You got to take this arc minus this arc and divide by 2 to get the outside angle. And it's 22 degrees. Now again, if you would have accidentally added those two, 68 plus 24 divided by 2, you get 46. I guess that one's a little harder to tell, but 46 would be too big. So this one also, you got to take this arc minus this arc and divide by 2 to get this angle. Now what's different about this? The arc is missing. So you just use the formula. It's going to be x minus 64 divided by 2 equals the outside angle. So then you just got to solve the equation. First thing you got to do is take it times 2. So x minus 64 equals 116, and then add 64. So this is 180. So when they're inside, it's the arc plus the arc divided by 2. 55 plus 91 divided by 2. Make sure when you do it on a calculator though, if you go 55 plus 91 divided by 2 like that, you're going to get a wrong answer because it's going to do PEMDAS. You need to press equals, right? 55 plus 91, press equals, and then divide by 2. So that's 73. This one is easy to solve, but you got to look at what they're looking for. If you take 86 plus 106 and divide by 2, you're going to find this angle because it's this arc and this arc. So that's 96, but that's not what they're looking for. What do you got to do to figure out what x is? They got to add a 180, right? So this would be 84. There's a couple of them that they throw in like that, so make sure you know which one you're looking for. And then now this one, it is the arc minus the arc divided by 2 to get the angle. Now you notice this is what's missing, and they don't have the arc here. But you know, you can figure it out. The whole circle makes 360, right?
Yeah.
And that's 110, so that means this has to be a 250. You understand how I got that? They throw a lot of these in. They'll either give you the big one and not the small one, or the small one and not the big one, when it's two tangents like that. So it's just 250 minus 110 divided by 2. That's 40 divided by 2 is 20. So the same thing here, it's the arc, 210, minus the arc here. It's always the arc in between the two angles. I should have mentioned that, but you probably figured that out. Divided by 2 equals the angle, which they give us. So this is one where you got to solve the equation for x. First thing you do on these is get rid of the 2. So take it times 2. Then we got to subtract 210. So you're left with, it's a negative x equals negative 66. So positive x equals positive 66.